State lawmakers are making quick work of putting a cap on property tax increases. They went into special session this morning at the request of the governor. What a crash. Well, the family of one of the skydivers killed last month in the Cascades has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the company that made that plane. And just hours after a judge ruled a 14-year-old boy from Mount Vernon could refuse a blood transfusion, he died. Dennis Lindbergh had leukemia. As a Jehovah's Witness, he didn't want a transfusion that could have helped save his life. A study of stops made by state troopers shows no evidence the patrol uses racial profiling. But KOMO 4's Brian Johnson reports the study shows many non-whites believe at least some troopers do profile.
Well, Karen and Frank, the number of potentially problematic areas here in the I-90 tunnels quadrupling tonight from the original estimate. Now the tally stands at around 1,500. As you can see for yourself, take a live look. We are here in Fall River on 5th between Branch and Morgan. The shooting happening around 9:45 tonight. As you can see, Fall River police actively scouring the scene right now. The shooting going down right there in the middle of the street. Man, barging in right through that door right there. His weapon of choice, a machete. And they're going to put their suits on. They're going to meticulously comb through everything they have. Investigators from the FAA are headed to the scene right now. It was dry here, and now, I'm 6'4".
Steve Bernard of Bristol had a body made for football. Number 56, holding the ball. But behind that big burly image, a 15-year-old with an agenda.
I was basically a jock my whole life, and I used it as to my advantage being a jock. I had my way with everything. I walked the hallways, people would move over. Just like walk up towards them, with that big macho walk. Just that alone is intimidating. To get a rise out of people around me. You just continue to do it to get that laugh out of people.
Steve's what you might call a self-proclaimed bully, a guy who had the ability to make some students cringe. And for one student in particular, Steve became a living nightmare.
Probably pushed me against the lockers, threw a few punches in here and there.
You thought you were untouchable.
I don't think you really recall at that young age you're doing what you're doing. You don't pay attention to it, so you think it's all right.
But the tables would turn, and in February of 1988, everyone would pay attention. One of the bullied kids shot Steve right in the head. His friends later telling him what happened.
They said they remember the whole thing where he confronted me and pulled the trigger, and I went down like a bat out of hell.
The so-called bully would become the victim, paralyzed on the left side of his body, a kid who lost most of his childhood, and you can blame it all on bullying. Fast forward more than 20 years to a case Steve's been following very closely. One young girl who was considered an outcast, 15-year-old Phoebe Prince. Her family had just moved from Ireland to South Hadley, Massachusetts before the beginning of the school year. At school, though, she was relentlessly picked on, in person, through text messages, on Facebook. The bullying so bad, she hanged herself. But Phoebe's death not only led to the indictment of 6 of her classmates on felony charges, it also brought a taboo subject onto the national radar. John Reese, a former Providence police officer, heads up PAVE, a Rhode Island nonprofit that teaches violence prevention.
But do you think they thought that she'd actually kill herself?
I don't believe for a minute that any of those kids thought Phoebe Prince would take her life.
Studies show bullying reaches its height during the middle school years. In high school, though, there are less incidents, though they become much more intense.
Then why do we not hear about this every day?
It needs to be out in the open. We need to be talking about kids taking their lives because of this, or it's part of growing up, or boys will be boys. And that's not true.
2 million children, just like Phoebe, all around the world are bullied each and every day. And with cell phones, text messaging, and Facebook, bullying no longer just happens at school. Parents can find it right in their child's room.
So there's no escape then?
There's no escape, and that's why we got to teach them.
So where does the buck stop then?
Honestly, with the parents. I would find it extremely hard to believe that none of the parents had no idea what their kids were doing. And if they didn't, shame on them for not knowing.
John says Phoebe's case has started making people talk openly about bullying. As for Steve, he is living proof that bullying can hurt just about anybody.
But do you really think that your story can make a difference?
You cannot change every kid. Not every kid's going to hear you. But there's that one kid that's going to listen to you